Well, hello, my friend. I'm your host, Conny Graf. Thank you so much for joining me today and allowing me back into your ears. So, you just joined the party for episode 300 of my podcast, From Chaos to Peace with Conny. 300 episodes is a big milestone, especially because most podcasters don't make it even past episode 10. They quit before that. The statistic is actually quite sad. Only 10% of people who start a podcast have released more than 10 episodes and have released content in the last 90 days. I am podcasting since February 2020, but I can totally relate why others give up after just a few episodes. It can be very lonely, and it can seem that the hard work it requires to create an episode is really not giving any return. Most of you listen and never reach out to give feedback. It's not like on social media where I could get at least a little heart on Instagram when you see it, right? It's really a lot like screaming out into the void. And I don't want to blame you for this, right? Because I listen to a lot of podcast episodes and I actually don't give enough feedback to those hosts either. So maybe a good resolution for 2026 for myself to give the podcast hosts that I listen to feedback. Maybe then I'm getting more feedback as well. So, again, the only thing as a podcast host that we see is how many people downloaded the episode, but it doesn't tell us if they liked it, if they got value out of it, if they got inspired, or whether they were bored after 3 minutes or anything else. So yes, I can totally understand why people give up after just a few episodes. I think it's really only my bullheadedness that keeps me from giving up. But trust me, I was close, very close several times. Either way, what I want to do with this episode is give you a quick review into what the most downloaded episodes were in 2025. I recorded and published 55 episodes in 2025, and the highest download months were first place, October 2025, 2nd September, and 3rd June. But after the highest download month, October 2025, in November the downloads collapsed and they dropped to less than 40% of October's downloads. That was really a tough pill to swallow and very, very demotivating. But hey, that's life as a podcaster and you might not care and that's okay. It's not your problem. So again, I want to share the top 5 episodes of 2025 with the most downloads. And let's start with the one with the 5th most downloads, which was episode 265, the 4 levels of intention setting. I share why my saying a few minutes a day keeps the chaos away isn't just something cute I came up with, why it's the real magic and how this ties into the 4 levels of goal and intention setting. Then, just slightly more downloads, had episode 270, why chaos creeps back in. If you have ever cleared and organized something only to see the chaos creep back in a few days later, you need to listen to that episode. Most people focus only on the goal of clean, chaos-free, organized space or finances. But in this episode, I share what to focus on instead and what to do instead and how to go from crisis mode to a system that sticks and keeps the chaos at bay. Okay, the 3rd most downloads got episode 272, Smarter To-Do Lists. This is about the difference between an actionable to-do list and the mile-long monster list that most of us have that leaves us overwhelmed and spinning our wheels. I talk about how to turn the monster list into a master list and then get to a manageable daily to-do list, which I call a smarter to-do list. Okay, the 2nd most downloads in 2025 got episode 274. Is Batching Secretly Sabotaging You is the title. I talk about the dark side of batching, how it can sabotage us and turn us into procrastinators. I dive into why batching might not work if you are a fire, air, or water type, and why a few minutes a day keeps the chaos away might be a better approach. And I speak from experience. Even after almost 6 years of publishing weekly podcast episodes, I almost never batch. With fire being my dominant element, I just have a hard time with batching. I barely managed to batch the few episodes for when I was in Switzerland this August and September. But I'm not giving up. So my goal for 2026 is to be at least 1 week ahead. I think for my own sanity, I really have to get to that place. Cross your fingers for me. Okay, and now the episode with the most downloads was episode 266. How and why chaos affects our life beyond our physical space. And in this episode, I talk about how mental and emotional clutter are connected to our actions and inactions and the result in our life and environment. I dive into what psychology knows as the cognitive model or the thought, feeling, behavior model. The quick breakdown is thoughts create feelings. Feelings influence behaviors and actions, and our behaviors and actions produce our results and consequences. This is actually something I learned over the past few years, the thought, feeling, behavior method or model. That's why I'm so big on setting intentions, because with intentions, I end up having more deliberate thoughts, so better thoughts, and then in turn, those better thoughts create better feelings, which influence my actions and my actions that I do based on better thoughts and better feelings produce better results. So, in a way, I'm quite excited that this is the most downloaded episode in 2025 because it's such an important concept to understand if you want to go from chaos to peace. Not into the top 5 made it the episode 289. I should be able to do this alone was the title. And I find that, especially when we're considering the thought, feeling, behavior model, this is a very sabotaging thought. I should be able to do this alone. And I myself, I have to be very careful to not believe that because I, for the longest time, thought that I need to be able to do everything alone. And I still could end up in that trap. Now, this episode might not have had the most downloads in 2025. I think it was on 6th or 7th most downloaded episodes. But what this episode got me was the most reactions for it. So if you haven't listened to it yet, it's really a good one and an important one. So go check that one out too. And also, at the very end, before we close, I'd love it if you would tell me your favorite episode. It doesn't have to be one of these with the most downloads, right? It could be whatever. Which one was your favorite one? You can either let me know by finding me on Instagram or Threads. My handle is I am Conny Graf. Or if you get my newsletter, the Moon Day letter, simply reply to the next one that you receive. I'd really love to hear from you. Which episode of 2025 was your favorite podcast episode? Okay, my friend, that was the Your Year with Chaos to Peace with Conny podcast. Thank you for listening all the way to the end and for being a supporter of the show. I wish you a happy new year. Have a beautiful week. Talk to you next year, 2026. Take good care and be safe.